My name is Karen Fabian and I'm the founder of Bare Bones Yoga, and welcome to video number 3 of the Bare Bones Yoga Learn Anatomy Challenge. This is my free online training to give you some key fundamental principles in anatomy that apply to yoga teaching. If you're just joining me in this third video, be sure that you download the PDF that is the guide to this challenge, and the link is going to be attached right in the description here of the video. So it'll be really easy for you to click the link and download the 2-page PDF that you can use to follow along the focus of each video and the overall reasons that I'm sharing this challenge with you. I want to also point out, because I don't always do it in each video, and I want to be really sure that you understand what resources are available to you that I have on my website that will enhance your understanding of all of what I'm presenting here. So there's a couple different pieces. The first thing is, in addition to the videos here, my anatomy manual is on my website, and all these concepts that I'm talking about in these videos are in the manual. In addition, on my website, you'll see my online courses page, and on the online courses page, my most recent, most comprehensive online course is called Your Yoga Anatomy Blueprint, and that essentially takes this manual and brings it to life with an online course program that'll take you, I would say, about 8 to 10 hours. You can do it at your own time, of course, and that online course will bring all of these concepts to life. This challenge here is just a small excerpt of each module in that course. In addition, I didn't mention this in the first 2 videos, but it is something I talk about in the free guide. As you're watching any of these videos, if you'd like to do a coaching session with me to go over any questions you have about anatomy, maybe you have the manual and you have some questions, maybe you've got some teaching questions related to alignment or anatomical sequencing or anything along those lines, or even building your yoga business. Part of this challenge is that you get a free coaching session with me on the phone, and I normally charge $150, so it's a $150 free session, and all you need to do is send me an email and mention that you're part of the Learn Anatomy Challenge. So go to the website, barebonesyoga.com. You'll see the link on the books page for the manual. You'll see the link on the online course page for the course, which is the full course. You get CEUs for doing it, your Yoga Anatomy Blueprint, and then send me an email and let me know that you'd like to take advantage of the free coaching session, and we'll set that up. We'll do it via conference call, video, and I'll send you the audio so you can keep it for reference later. So now that I've gone through that, we're going to go into the content for video number 3. And video number 3, if you're looking at the guide, the PDF guide, is what is anatomical position and how does it apply to yoga teaching. So in the manual here, I describe anatomical position in the chapter on it, and it's one of those things that is really helpful from a fundamental standpoint to understanding what are some alignment principles that we want to see in the different shapes that our students are taking. And so when we look at anatomical position, one of the things, in yoga we call it Tadasana. So let's just talk about what it is. So it's basically standing with the feet hip width, having the palms facing forward, having the head centered over the body, having the shoulders relax naturally down the back, and having the pelvis level. There are a couple other qualities involved, but that's generally what it is. And you'll notice when you look at the skeleton, maybe not mine as much because he's been kind of traveling to all the different trainings I do, so he's a little off kilter. But generally speaking, that's what you see in a standard skeleton. You see the hip width, between the feet, the palms facing forward. Of course, he's not super upright, but the upright position, the shoulders down the back. And these qualities are definitely things that we want to see in the different postures as students move through the practice. And so for a beginning yoga teacher who doesn't really know all of the fine-tuned details of the particular muscles, their origins and insertions, how the different muscles are involved in the different poses, understanding anatomical position can really give you a way to share anatomy with your students in a really easy to understand format And it's not a lot to learn, right? We're not getting into details around bones or joints or muscles. We're just talking generally about shape. And there's a lot that we can communicate with our students about the shape of the body that can bring them into better alignment. And that really is speaking to the anatomy. So it's not just saying stack your knee over your heel, right? Because there's really no, well, that's a shape and well, that's a cue. It's not really telling me as a student, well, why do I need to be doing that? So the anatomy is missing. When we teach to anatomical position in different shapes, we're bringing the body into better alignment, and it lives in the anatomical position being a steady shape. So let's kind of look at some different poses, and I'm going to talk to you about where the anatomical position kind of comes into play. So let's talk first about a posture like tree. So as a student brings the foot up against the leg, in order to keep the foot there, sometimes, and I just taught this afternoon, so I actually saw this, sometimes the person will hike the one hip higher. So it'll look something like this. You see how the one hip is higher than the other. It's hard for me to balance. And when they hike that one hip higher, their pelvis is a little off kilter, right? And one of the qualities of anatomical position is that the pelvis is level. Easy to do when we're standing on 2 feet, but harder to do when we start to pick up 1 foot. Now, why might that be? Well, think about when we're standing on one leg, what do we need to do to balance? Well, we need to call on some muscles involved in order to keep the pelvis level. In this case, in large part, we're calling on muscles that live on the lateral aspect, on the side of the standing leg. And we're also calling on some muscles in our core to stabilize the center of the body. So as I pull this one leg up, I'm asking this outer hip here to get a little bit stronger. I might also pull in along the center line of the body, right? So I haven't even started to get into muscle names. I'm kind of living in the area here of describing sensation and contraction and muscular action, but sticking with this theme of keeping the pelvis level. And so when the pelvis is level, which again we see in anatomical position, and we also kind of aim for it in different balancing poses where it makes sense, that's a way that we can start to share the anatomy with our students and share aspects, in this case, of anatomical position as it relates to the pelvis in a pose like tree. Now in something like airplane pose, right, now I'm taking the pelvis and I'm tipping it forward or anteriorly. So now I'm not keeping that level aspect as you see in standing, but to some extent I'm keeping it level kind of with respect to the movement I'm taking. So even as I shift into a forward leaning position, I'm still keeping some of that anatomical position quality in the pelvis. Another really common place where we see anatomical position is around the position of the head in different poses. And the quality that I'm speaking to here is the fact that in anatomical position, the head is centered over the body, right? It's not that the chin is hanging down. It's not that the neck is in extension. It's not that the head is tilted to the side. It is balanced over the shoulders. And when we have the head balanced over the shoulders and centered, we're working in concert with gravity. Here, of course, I'm standing up, so I definitely am. But that promotes kind of just that steadiness and balance that we see when we stand up in this kind of mountain pose Tadasana shape. But what happens when I start to change my relationship to gravity? What happens to that shape? And do I want to keep that quality of anatomical position with the head centered over the body even when my relationship to gravity changes? And I would say in most cases I want to do that. So let's take a posture like triangle. So as soon as I start to tip the torso over the leg here, the head in many cases is going to droop down. And this is because the student isn't aware that this quality should be seen even when I'm in this side bending position. In order to keep the muscles on both sides, in order to keep the head steady, I need to engage muscles on the side of the neck to keep the head from tipping down. So we're talking now about things like the sternocleidomastoid, for instance. But again, not even getting into that. Let's say as a teacher you don't know about muscles of the neck. But let's say you do know about the importance of anatomical position and bringing those qualities into your teaching in shapes where it makes sense. So here, as I take students as a teacher into triangle and I'm looking at them and I see this, I might say lift the lower ear away from the shoulder, bring more of that quality of balancing your head over your body even as you're tipping to the side. Another super common place where we see this is when we have students come down onto closer to the ground in something like plank. So here, as I have them come into plank, oftentimes what will happen is this, and then when I ask them to move into a little push-up, it definitely will happen. So if I can cue them here, just as I did here, I brought it to their attention. Notice that your head is centered over the body. Then, as I'm teaching, when I get them into plank, I can call back to that quality. If your chin is dropping, lift the chin slightly away from your chest. Keep your head centered the whole time you're lowering. So this is a helpful technique for your students in that if you can share something with them when they're in an easy shape like standing and share with them the importance anatomically of the quality of that shape and how it brings better alignment or more, just more ease in the pose, then you can call back to it as you're working through the sequence. And it'll start to help them connect the dots. They'll remember here, you could even have them close their eyes in that first moment of class when they're standing in Tadasana and walk them through some of the feeling in the body and how easy it is to keep the head centered when they're standing up. And then call back to it as you're teaching and you notice that their head is drooping or drooping down or doing kind of all those things that are common because for many of us, think posturally, we're looking down at the computer, we're looking down at the phone, so it's hard for us to kind of get used to this feeling of centering the head. And this is oftentimes what lies at the base of a lot of kind of odd shapes you might see or different challenges that students have with respect to some of the musculature in the body. We're so used to kind of being in one position that when we come to class and we're asked to do something different, it feels really foreign to us. So the body is kind of looking for what it's most familiar with. And so as teachers, we have to kind of wake people up to the natural shape that they were meant to be in before all these activities and of daily living and habits, postural habits, have taken over our anatomy. So those are two examples of how to bring anatomical position and the qualities, the good qualities of anatomical position into your teaching in a way that's really understandable, that students can use in their life, right? So this is one of the most powerful things you can do as a teacher is share information on the mat that students can then apply to all the stuff they're doing when they're not in class. So they're sitting at their desk and they're hunched over. They might hear your voice in their head saying, the qualities of sitting up and how good that is for your neck and shoulders and all those kinds of things. And they might adjust, and then it just becomes kind of more of a common thing for them to self-correct. So this is really where the impact of teaching anatomy in an understandable way comes. And the more you do it, the more you get comfortable with it, the more your confidence is going to grow, and the more this is just going to kind of flow from you freely and with ease. So to wrap up this video, let me just kind of point you out again. So this whole conversation is explored in even more detail in the anatomy manual. You can get that right on the website. The other piece I didn't mention at the beginning that you could take advantage of are my 3 online classes, which include tons of anatomical tips. These classes are about 45 minutes in length. They're only $10. You can go to the online classes page on the website and pick those up. The other thing I will say is right on the PDF, you have links to both the videos here and the online classes, the anatomy manual, the online course. So the PDF guide is going to give you the links directly to all of these resources. And don't forget, if you want to do a coaching session with me, just send me an email. So I really appreciate you watching. Here we are done with video number 3. We're on to video number 4 in the next couple days. If you have any comments about the training, please add them to the video here. I'd love to hear from you. So thank you so much for watching, and namaste.